The story of the Oklahoma City Thunder is a tale of two cities, separated by 2,000 miles, and a legacy of heartbreak. To the north, you have the Emerald Ghost of the Seattle Supersonics, a championship program with a 41-year history that vanished overnight in a storm of litigation and corporate maneuvering. To the south, you have the modern blueprint of the NBA, a small market juggernaut built through the most aggressive, cold-blooded drafting strategy in sports history. This is not just a basketball story. It is a story of corporate betrayal, three-headed monsters, triple-double revenge tours, and a general manager named Sam Presti who turned what had been the black eye of the league into the 2025 NBA champions. It is a saga of how a franchise survived the loss of three future MVPs only to build a fourth one from scratch. The franchise was born in 1967 as an expansion team in Seattle, named after Boeing's supersonic transport project. The city was more than ready, boasting a population of over 1 million and a hungry sports culture that had long felt ignored by the East Coast-centered NBA. The early years were defined by the brilliance of Lenny Wilkens, a man who served as the team's star point guard and coach simultaneously. Wilkens wasn't just a player. He was the architect of a specific brand of Pacific Northwest basketball, unselfish, tough, and defensively minded. By the mid-1970s, the Sonics were a Western Conference powerhouse, but they couldn't quite climb the mountain, losing a heartbreaking 7-game series to the Washington Bullets in the 1978 finals. But 1979 was different. Led by Gus Williams, nicknamed the Wizard, the legendary defensive tenacity of Dennis Johnson, and the golden-maned Jack Sikma, the Sonics dismantled those same Bullets in 5 games. The victory parade through downtown Seattle wasn't just for a trophy, it was a coronation. Seattle had become a basketball mecca. Throughout the 80s, the Sonics remained a staple of the postseason, transitioning into the X-Men era with Xavier McDaniel. McDaniel was the league's ultimate enforcer, a man who once famously choked a teammate in practice to set the tone. This era was rugged and physical, but the true superstar turn was just around the corner. In 1990, the Sonics made the move that would define the 90s. They drafted a trash-talking skinny guard from Oregon State named Gary Payton. Paired with the high-flying Shawn Kemp, the Glove and the Rain Man became the most culturally significant duo in the league outside of Chicago. Payton was a defensive savant, the only point guard to ever win Defensive Player of the Year in that era. Kemp was a walking highlight reel whose dunks over Alton Lister remain the stuff of playground legend. Under head coach George Karl, the 1996 Sonics won a franchise record 64 games. They were the only team capable of standing in the way of Michael Jordan's 72-win Bulls. The 1996 Finals remains a massive what-if. Karl waited until Game 4 to put Payton on Jordan, and by then, the Bulls were up 3-0. Once Payton took the assignment, Jordan had the worst shooting games of his finals career, and the Sonics clawed back to 3-2. The city was electric, believing a Game 7 was inevitable. They fell short, but the Sonics were solidified as the coolest team in the world. The downfall began not on the court, but in the boardroom. In 2001, Starbucks mogul Howard Schultz bought the team. By 2006, claiming the team was losing millions at Key Arena, Schultz sold the team to an Oklahoma City-based group led by Clay Bennett. The Save Our Sonics movement became a civil war. Fans sued. The city sued. Seattle did not want to let go of its history. Bennett promised to keep the team if a $500 million arena was built, but the terms were impossible. In 2008, a settlement was reached. Bennett would pay $45 million to break the lease, but he would take the players, the staff, and the soul of the team to Oklahoma. Seattle kept the Sonics name and the 1979 trophy in a glass case, but the team that took the floor in October 2008 wore thunder across their chests. The relocation of the Supersonics was not just a change in geography, it was a seismic shift in the NBA's power structure. When the league owners voted 28-2 to approve the move, with only Mark Cuban and Paul Allen dissenting, it sent a chilling message to every mid-market fan base in America. No amount of history could protect you from a stadium dispute. The national media treated the move as a cold-blooded heist. Iconic figures like Gary Payton refused to have their jerseys retired in Oklahoma City, effectively orphaning the franchise's history for nearly 2 decades. To the NBA at large, the move created a villain arc for the new organization before they ever tipped off. To understand the weight of the move, you have to look at the 2007 to 2008 Seattle Supersonics season. It was the ultimate tease in sports history. After a legendary one-and-done year at the University of Texas, where he became the first freshman to win the Naismith and Wooden Awards, Kevin Durant was the number 2 overall pick. He arrived in a Seattle jersey as a 6'9" wing with a 7'5" wingspan, looking like a basketball experiment. Seattle fans got exactly 40 home games of his brilliance. Durant won Rookie of the Year while starting alongside a roster of driftwood and tumbleweeds, averaging 20.3 points per game and showing the first flashes of the unguardable scoring machine he would become. Durant's final game in a Sonics uniform was a masterpiece, 42 points and 13 rebounds in a victory over the Warriors. He walked off the Key Arena floor as the hero of a city that did not know it was losing him for good. The move to OKC essentially reset his career in the eyes of the public, but those who were in Seattle remember a kid who spent 90% of his minutes as shooting guard, a kinetic slasher learning to break the league. Seattle gave Durant his start, but Oklahoma City gave him his peak. This split identity rookie year remains one of the most unique and tragic statistical anomalies in NBA history. In Oklahoma City, the reception was the polar opposite. The city had already proven its mettle by hosting the New Orleans Hornets following Hurricane Katrina, but having a team of their own was different. Fans did not just attend games, they treated the Thunder as a civic identity. The loud city atmosphere became the most feared home court advantage in the league. This created a bizarre tale of 2 fan bases. While Seattleites organized online parties to celebrate every Thunder loss, OKC fans were building a community around a roster of young, humble stars. This repositioned the players as us against the world underdogs, a mentality that Sam Presti cultivated to keep the small market team focused and insulated from the coastal media's skepticism. The move was a wound that never healed. To this day, Seattle fans view the Thunder not as a team, but as a stolen asset. But for Oklahoma City, a city still recovering from the 1995 bombing and looking for a global identity, the Thunder became their everything. By 2006, the relationship between the team and the city of Seattle fractured over a public funding request for $220 million to update Key Arena. When the state legislature balked, Starbucks mogul Howard Schultz infamously sold the team to an Oklahoma City-based group led by Clay Bennett for $350 million. The sale was contingent on a good faith effort to keep the team in Seattle for at least 1 year, but internal emails later released during litigation painted a far more calculated picture. In one exchange, minority owner Aubrey McClendon told an Oklahoma City newspaper that they did not buy the team to keep it in Seattle, a comment that earned him a $250,000 fine from the NBA, but confirmed the fans' worst fears: sale. The ensuing legal battle became a media circus that exposed the cold reality of sports relocation. As the city sued to enforce the final 2 years of the Key Arena lease, investigators uncovered emails from Bennett himself. In April 2007, while publicly professing his commitment to Seattle, Bennett replied to an ownership partner's question about moving early by saying he was a man possessed and that they would do everything they could because the game was getting started. These revelations led Schultz to sue to rescind the sale, alleging he was defrauded, though he eventually dropped the suit. Legal. The saga reached its breaking point on July 2, 2008. Just hours before a federal judge was set to rule on whether the team had to stay in Seattle through 2010, a settlement was reached. Bennett agreed to pay Seattle $45 million immediately, with an additional $30 million due if the city did not land a new team within 5 years. In exchange, the franchise was allowed to move to Oklahoma City instantly. The settlement split the history. Oklahoma City got the players and the record, but Seattle kept the Supersonics name, the colors, and the 1979 championship trophy, which now sits in the Museum of History waiting for a rebirth. Settlement. The Thunder did not arrive empty-handed. They arrived with Kevin Durant. The peak of the Kevin Durant era was 2014. After Russell Westbrook went down with an injury, Durant went on an ungodly scoring tear, averaging 35.9 points per game for an entire month. He won the Most Valuable Player award, delivering the "You the Real" MVP speech that humanized a superstar. However, the shadow of 2016 looms largest. Up 3-1 on the Warriors, who had won 73 games. In the Western Conference Finals, the Thunder collapsed. When Durant signed with those same Warriors that July of 2016, he did not just leave a team. He broke the heart of a city that had treated him like a god. Before he was the face of a relocated franchise, Kevin Durant was a force of nature. His Longhorn highlights, hitting fall-away jumpers over triple teams, convinced the world he was a generational 7-foot shooting guard. Despite the hype around Greg Oden, the Seattle Supersonics knew they had found their savior with the number 2 overall pick. Durant's rookie season in Seattle was the final spark of joy for the city. He averaged 20.3 points per game, took home the 2008 Rookie of the Year trophy, and hit a legendary double overtime game winner against Atlanta that made the Key Arena floor shake for one of the last times. The transition to Oklahoma City was the forge that turned Durant into the Slim Reaper. While the team struggled in the standings during the 2008 to 2009 season, Durant's individual ascent was vertical. By his 3rd season, he became the youngest scoring champion in NBA history at age 21, averaging 30.1 points per game. This was not just volume scoring, it was efficiency that broke the league's defensive geometry. His rise was perfectly synchronized with the emergence of the loud city atmosphere at the Ford Center, where Kevin Durant's humble, work-quiet demeanor endeared him to a blue-collar Oklahoma fan base. He was the prototype of the modern superstar, a 6'11" wing with a 7'5" wingspan, who could pull up from the logo or finish through contact with a grace that masked his predatory scoring instinct. Durant's legacy was cemented by his unstoppable 50-40-90 season in 2013 and his 2014 MVP campaign, where he played 41 consecutive games, scoring 25 or more points, surpassing Michael Jordan's modern record. However, the true story of the Durant era is the heartbreak of the what if. From 2011 to 2016, a healthy Thunder team with Durant made the Western Conference Finals 4 out of 6 years. They were the most feared athletic specimen in the league, a team of giants who ran the fast break like track stars. When he eventually departed in 2016, he left as the franchise's all-time leader in free throws and three-pointers, leaving behind a city that was forced to choose between remembering the 4 scoring titles or the sting of the decision that left them in the dust. We have to talk about the trade that changed the NBA forever. In 2009, Sam Presti drafted James Harden at number 3. Harden was the connector. He did not mind coming off the bench as the 6th man, providing 16 points and 4 assists a night while Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook rested. In 2012, the Baby Thunder made the finals. They were supposed to be the next dynasty. But that summer, over a measly $4 million gap in contract negotiations, Presti traded Harden to Houston. The logic was fiscal. trying to avoid the luxury tax, but the result was a catastrophe. Harden became a perennial MVP candidate in Houston, and the Thunder spent the next 5 years desperately trying to find a third star that they had already owned and traded away for Kevin Martin and draft picks. When Kevin Durant left in 2016, the world expected the Thunder to retreat into the shadows. Russell Westbrook decided to burn the league down instead. The 2016 to 2017 season was the greatest revenge tour in sports history. Russ played with a ferocity that felt like he was trying to punch the rim on every possession. He became the first player since Oscar Robertson to average a triple-double. He broke the single-season record with 42 triple-doubles, punctuating the season with a 50-point game in Denver, where he hit a 35-foot game winner at the buzzer. He stayed loyal. He signed the Supermax. He gave Oklahoma City a reason to hold their heads high after Durant's departure. While the Russ and Paul George era ultimately failed to get past the first round, Westbrook's tenure proved that Oklahoma City was a place where superstars could and would be loved unconditionally. In 2019, Presti finally pulled the plug. He traded Paul George to the Clippers for a record-breaking haul, 5 first-round picks, 2 pick swaps, and a young guard named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Everyone thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a piece for the future. Nobody knew he was the present. While Presti spent from 2021 to 2023 tanking and collecting a staggering 15 first-round picks, Shai was becoming a mid-range god. By 2024, Shai was a most valuable player finalist, averaging 30.1 points on 54% shooting. He was the antithesis of Westbrook, calm, methodical, and impossible to rattle. Presti used his vault with surgical precision. He didn't trade for a disgruntled star. He drafted Chet Holmgren, the 7-foot unicorn, and Jalen Williams. He traded for Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein to bolster the defense. He built a team that was young, cheap, and historically dominant. The 2024 to 2025 season will go down as the greatest in franchise history. The Thunder finished 68 wins and 14 losses. They had the #1 offense and the #1 defense. In the 2025 finals, they faced the Indiana Pacers and dismantled them in 5 games. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the finals MVP. But the story was the Spartan culture of the team. They were the youngest team to ever win a title, with an average age of just 24 years old. Currently, the Thunder sit first in the Western Conference. They are the heavy favorites to repeat. The most terrifying part for the rest of the NBA is that they still have the picks. Because of the 2019 George trade and the 2024 trades, the Thunder own the Clippers' 2026 first-round pick, unprotected. With the Clippers currently in the basement of the league, the defending champion Thunder are likely to walk into the 2026 draft and take a ready-to-go college superstar with a top 5 pick. Is the Oklahoma City Thunder the greatest small market success story in history? They survived the loss of Durant. They survived the Harden trade. They survived the move from Seattle. The archive shows a franchise that refuses to die. From the 1979 championship in the reign of Seattle to the 2025 championship in the heat of Oklahoma, the colors may have changed, but the dominance has remained. The only question left is, how many more rings will Sam Presti's vault buy before the decade is over? The legacy of the Oklahoma City Thunder is a story of survival that defies the conventional logic of professional sports. It is a franchise that has lived 2 lives, one as the Emerald Crown of the Pacific Northwest, and another as the modern blueprint for how to build a basketball juggernaut in the heart of the Great Plains. We have watched this organization navigate the highest of highs, from the 1979 championship parade in the reign of Seattle to the 2025 confetti shower in Loud City, and the lowest of lows, from the midnight move in 2008 to the soul-crushing departure of 3 future MVPs. But through it all, one constant has remained: a relentless, almost cold-blooded commitment to a long-term vision. The 2025 championship wasn't just a win for a city, it was a total vindication for Sam Presti's Vault, and the idea that patience, when paired with elite scouting, can overcome the disadvantages of a small market. Looking at a Thunder team that sits atop the Western Conference, the conversation has shifted from can they win it to how many will they win. The terrifying reality for the rest of the NBA is that Oklahoma City has done the impossible. They have won a championship while simultaneously holding the keys to the league's future. It is a level of asset management that feels less like basketball and more like a grandmaster playing a game of chess while everyone else is playing checkers. But the success of the Thunder will forever be haunted by a singular, unanswerable question that sparks debate in every bar from Pioneer Square to Bricktown. Whose championship was 2025 really? Does that trophy belong solely to the fans in Oklahoma who stayed loyal through the lean tanking years? Or is it a stolen piece of Seattle's soul, a debt that can only be repaid when the Supersonics finally return to the hardwood in 2028? Some argue that the Thunder culture is entirely new, a product of the Oklahoma dirt and Presti's genius. Others contend that the franchise is a continuous line of energy that started with Lenny Wilkens and Gary Payton, and that OKC is simply holding the flame until the expansion draft arrives. Ultimately, the story of this franchise is the story of the what if. What if Harden was never traded? What if KD never left? What if the Sonics never moved? But perhaps the most important what if is the one we are living right now. What if the Oklahoma City Thunder have actually built the first sustainable dynasty in the history of the modern NBA? A dynasty that does not rely on a single superstar's whim, but on an infinite loop of draft picks and development. The franchise archive is never truly closed. It is a living document of trades, buckets, and banners. And as the Thunder look toward a potential back-to-back run in 2026, the rest of the league is left to wonder if they are watching a basketball team or a storm that is never going to break. The story of the Oklahoma City Thunder is a masterpiece of modern sports engineering, yet its foundations were laid in a boardroom betrayal that still haunts the Pacific Northwest. To understand the franchise's current dominance, you have to look 2,000 miles north to the Emerald ghost of the Seattle Supersonics. This was a program with a 41-year lineage, born in 1967 and named after Boeing's supersonic transport project. The early years in Seattle were defined by the double-threat brilliance of Lenny Wilkens, who served as both the team's star guard and its head coach. That gritty DNA led to the ultimate payoff in 1979 when Dennis Johnson, Gus Williams, and Jack Sikma dismantled the Washington Bullets to secure Seattle's only NBA title. For decades, Seattle was a basketball mecca, peaking again in the 1990s as Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp, the Glove and the Rain Man, turned Key Arena into a house of high-flying, trash-talking highlights. They were the only force capable of truly scaring Michael Jordan's 72-win Bulls in the 1996 finals. But the glory of the 90s was followed by a cold, corporate dissolution. When Starbucks mogul Howard Schultz sold the team to an Oklahoma City-based group, led by Clay Bennett in 2006, the clock began ticking on a tragedy. Bennett publicly promised a good faith effort to keep the team in Seattle, but internal emails eventually revealed a far more predatory strategy. Partners like Aubrey McClendon admitted the goal was always Oklahoma City, leading to a scorched earth legal war. The city of Seattle sued to enforce its lease, but on July 2, 2008, the midnight move was finalized. For a $45 million settlement, the franchise was allowed to flee, taking the players but leaving the Sonics' name, colors, and 1979 trophy in a museum like a preserved corpse. To the NBA world, it was a heist. To Oklahoma City, it was the birth of a civic identity. Amidst this chaos emerged a savior, a skinny, 19-year-old freshman out of the University of Texas named Kevin Durant. Before the move, Durant gave Seattle one final, cruel taste of what they were losing. As a Longhorn, he had become the first freshman to win the Naismith and Wooden Awards, and in his lone season in a Sonics jersey, he captured the 2008 Rookie of the Year award. When the team landed in the Great Plains, Durant did not just play, he legitimized the entire project. He won 4 scoring titles in 5 years, became the youngest scoring champion in history, and delivered an MVP season in 2014 that humanized a superstar through his iconic tribute to his mother. He was the Slim Reaper, a 7-foot shooting guard who made Oklahoma City a title contender overnight. Yet the what-if shadow grew just as fast as the win column. In 2009, Sam Presti drafted James Harden as the ultimate luxury, a 6th man of the year who acted as the connector for Durant and Russell Westbrook. But in 2012, just months after reaching the finals, the front office refused to bridge a $4 million gap in contract negotiations and traded Harden to Houston. It remains the most dissected trade in basketball history, a move that broke a 3-headed monster before it reached its prime. When Kevin Durant eventually departed for the Warriors in 2016, the franchise was left with Russell Westbrook, a man who responded with a one-man war against the league. Westbrook's triple-double seasons were not just statistical anomalies. They were acts of loyalty that gave Oklahoma City its soul back. By 2019, the Westbrook era ended, and Sam Presti executed a total reset that would eventually break the NBA's competitive balance. Trading Paul George and Westbrook for a mountain of draft picks and a throw-in guard named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Presti began hoarding first-round selections like a grandmaster. While the league accused the Thunder of black-eye tanking, SGA was quietly evolving into a mid-range god. By 2025, the strategy reached its crescendo. Shai, the reigning MVP and scoring leader, led the youngest roster in history to a 68-win season. They moved through the playoffs with surgical precision, eventually defeating the Indiana Pacers in Game 7 of the 2025 Finals to claim the first championship in Oklahoma City history. Has Oklahoma City built the first sustainable, infinite dynasty in sports history? And as that 1979 banner remains in a glass case in Seattle, can a championship won in Oklahoma ever truly settle the debt of 2008? The storm that began in 1967 has not ended. It has simply changed form, and the forecast shows no signs of clearing for the rest of the NBA.